If you've seen any City Skylines challenges, chances are you've seen plenty of cities built completely within one tile. I've even done this in the past, and I did quite alright with it if I do say so myself. Today, let's take that idea and make it teensy tiny. I'm going to try and get this city to the final Megalopolis milestone using only 1x1 zoning. And I'm going to do it completely within the vanilla game. Of course, service, utility, and unique buildings are larger than 1x1, but my Twitch chat voted that preserving the vanilla game was better than downloading a 1x1 service assets from the workshop. So how is the city shaping up? One of the first hurdles to overcome in this challenge was early game money. The road to building ratio got all sorts of whack pretty quickly, so to combat road maintenance costs, I used gravel roads for longer than I would in a typical city. There were also the usual city building bits to consider, like pollution and traffic, so like a pro, I split the industry and the residential to either side of the main highway entrance. After finding a new favorite road layout for this teensy style of zoning and following the demands, I had done it. I had conquered the first milestone. This beauty of mine was a little hamlet. But I wasn't in the clear yet. I wasn't used to having so little income by this stage of building. I needed to make my Sims happy, but couldn't afford to do so. So I started by offering real asphalt roads, at least in the suburbs. It seems my Sims were suckers. This was enough to earn the title of Worthy Village. Then, if we were going to get any sort of cash flow going, we needed specialized industry. We needed deforestation. Cue the Pretty Happy Trees district, and voila, our weekly earnings finally reached 4 digits. By this point, I was getting comfortable. I mean, I'm a City Skylines pro, right? Speedruns, challenges, video essays, I had done it all. This was going to be smooth sailing from here. I needed to up the ante, or this would get dull quick. So how about some stakes? No, stakes. Since we've established that I'm obviously the most best City Skylines player ever and every city I touch is immaculate, why don't we threaten what I clearly value most? My pride. If I can't reach the final milestone in this city, which means a population of 50,000, using just these 1x1 squares for all possible zoning, I'll open up my oldest city's save and share my shame with you. At least the oldest one I still have, trust me, plenty of shame here to go around. Glad we established that. Let's check in on the city's progress. At this point, the city was doing well enough and was ready for a proper entrance that left a way to expand later. And just as I was finishing the interchange up, Twitch chat happened. Over at twitch.tv/ToadieZzz, viewers can redeem in-stream points to move into whichever building we deem is the mansion of the city. In this city, chat demanded the dump. And so Warner was our first claimant of the dumper, and it was time to expand. I started by expanding the forestry area as well as adding housing beside it, then ran the highway to the opposite corner of the part of the map we had unlocked and worked to fill in the bits in the middle. Speaking of unlocking the map, Twitch chat made themselves heard again at this point. Long-time fan Footlicker69 made a suggestion that everyone else seemed to agree with. Not only should I reach the final milestone with single square zoning, but I should do it only within this one buildable tile. I had been officially challenged to do a challenge within a challenge. I couldn't say no. Imagine what would happen to my precious pride. The new challenge was set. Reach Megalopolis within one tile only, zoning 1x1 squares. And just like that, after using around half of the available space in the tile, the city reached the big town milestone, which is where high density zoning unlocks. Next up, educating the Sims. I chose to plop a single building university rather than using the campus DLC to save space and tried to make it look all tidy and nice just by the highway. Fitting 35,000 more people into this one tile was going to be tough. I was excited to expand using the Green Cities DLC high-density buildings because they're simply the best-looking high-density buildings in the vanilla game. So the prudish Greens district came to life and I got zoning. It was around this time when I discovered a lovely bug in the game where squares of zoning will choose to fill in spaces that you didn't ask it to, causing some 2x1 or 1x2 buildings to grow in. But worry not, I caught them, bulldozed them, and corrected the zoning anytime I saw it happen. I also began to slowly de-zone the original low-density residential buildings and replace them with high-density. There were some areas that I felt would look better if they stayed low-density, but only time and patience would tell if we could afford to leave any low-density at all. I should explain something that is making this challenge particularly difficult. We tested this on stream to be sure, and I encourage you to give it a try in your cities to see for yourself. When playing a casual game of City Skylines, you'll usually see people paint full zones that result in 4x4 sized houses as opposed to our 1x1. It's worth assuming the game was designed around this being the most common sized building, with the other combinations of zoning scattered here and there like on windy roads. Using residential zoning as the relevant example, the smaller the zoned building, the fewer households it holds. Meaning we are trying to reach the highest population that is awarded a milestone with houses that hold the fewest people in the smallest buildable space. But we'll make it happen, right? While we watch the next batch of progress be made, I'm going to take a quick moment to shout out my Patreon. If you would like to support me in making videos like this one, Patreon is absolutely the best place to do so. Patreon takes the least from you and me in fees, and I can provide extra rewards as a thank you for supporting me there, like naming districts after you in cities, access to cities saves, or early access to videos. If you'd like to check it out, there's a link in the description for easy access. Signups start at just $1 a month and goes a huge way in supporting this channel. Back to our city, how were we doing at this point? We were doing okay, hovering between 17 to 20,000 population. Visually, I was pretty darn proud of the city by this point. Even some of the places where I had to replace the low density residential with high density and it was just these Euro style buildings smashed side by side. Overall, I liked the design of the roads, the different buildings we had spawned in by using various DLCs, and the little bits of beautification I had done with rocks in the industry and trees in and around the houses. But gang, beauty wasn't going to get this population up to 50,000 people. The city was rapidly approaching the point where the entire tile was filled up, but its population hadn't even reached half of my goal. Would I seriously have to boot up this first save of mine, figure out the ancient mods, and show it to the world? No, I couldn't bear the thought. With a completely full tile reaching a maximum population of 30,000 people, it was time for drastic measures. If you're squeamish, now is the time to look away. With $8 million in the bank, I did the worst. I demolished everything. The only road to survive was the one in front of the dumper because Twitch chat still needed their sacred spot left honored. I left service buildings and parks intact, but turned them off to save cash, but everything else in this beautiful city I had handcrafted over many painstaking hours met their doom. I filled in Poop River and the little corner of ocean to allow more room for the coming mass of grid. Then it was time to unpause. Bye-bye, citizens of Square One. Where did that city name come from anyways? Not to be distracted by an odd city name, it was time to rebuild. In a way, you could say I went back to my roots in City Skylines, building the most boring, monotonous grids the game has to offer. I moved services around where needed, but generally just left 2 zoning spaces available between each road and zoned them in the previously established pattern. It took quite a bit longer than expected, and the city treasury fell from 8 million to 3 million monies, but in the end, I and the citizens of Square One persevered. With residential buildings from the Green Cities DLC, office buildings from the Financial Districts DLC, and commercial buildings from the Heart of Korea DLC, this mass of dystopian gridded mess was formed. And finally, we did it. Mega Lapa Lapolis. I'll start this flyover at regular speed so you can get a good sense of just how laggy this city became. And keep in mind, this is vanilla. No additional assets added from the workshop and no mods other than cameras. Just the sheer number of these tiny buildings needed to reach this population was sending my PC for a ride. Nevertheless, I felt the city ended beautifully and was glad to have accomplished the double challenge. So hey, see this save? This save from forever ago? We're not going to open it. We're going to delete it instead. I've also done a similar challenge where I built only within one tile but strove for beauty over population. Check out the beginning of that series that's on screen right now, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. And hey, remember to stand up for what you believe in today.